My husband Cole cheated on me with another woman, and to add insult to injury, he announced her pregnancy at my own birthday party. His sister Kylie helped me expose everything to his family. Cole and I had been married for 8 years when this all unfolded. It began when I was a 28-year-old personal assistant, struggling with the loss of my father. Losing a parent leaves you feeling incredibly isolated and empty, as anyone who's been through it knows. That's when Cole entered my life, a charming older man who seemed to know exactly how to lift my spirits. Our story felt cliched in the beginning, but maybe that's why I fell so hard for him. At the time, he was everything I was looking for: safe, reliable, and affectionate. We went on amazing dates, and he always treated me like a true gentleman. My mom adored him from the start, and though there was initial tension with his parents due to our different ethnic backgrounds, they eventually warmed up to me. Cole's sister Kylie and I hit it off immediately, becoming incredibly close. We confided in each other regularly, and I often felt grateful to have her in my life thanks to Cole. During what I thought was still our lovey-dovey phase, Cole spontaneously proposed, catching me completely off guard with a surprise engagement party attended by all our loved ones. Overwhelmed with joy, I said yes, and our families couldn't stop raving about how perfect we were together. I believed it too, wholeheartedly. Our wedding was a beautiful affair, free from any incidents, and our honeymoon was spent blissfully. After 2 blissful weeks in Mexico, reality hit hard when we returned home. Moving into Cole's place proved challenging. He was particular about his belongings and resistant to any changes in his living room or bedroom. I suggested a compromise, proposing to gradually incorporate my style, but he objected to the size of my wardrobe next. Claiming no one needed so many clothes, he insisted I downsize significantly to avoid taking up too much space. Understanding his concerns, I agreed to store my clothes in the guest room instead of our bedroom. Another issue arose over my collection of fridge magnets. Since childhood, I'd cherished collecting them from my travels, proudly displaying them as mementos of my adventures. Cole found them tacky and refused to let any of them on our fridge. Despite heated arguments, he urged us not to start our marriage on rocky ground, so I reluctantly relented. In the first 2 years of marriage, I spent much time with family and friends, while Cole, drained from long work hours, preferred staying home. I enjoyed socializing and going out with friends, so I didn't mind occasionally going out alone. Sometimes Cole suggested I stay home, but we still made time for date nights twice a week, which I cherished. Most evenings, I preferred spending time with him, but I also enjoyed meeting up with other people from time to time. Similarly, Cole had his own interests, like hanging out with his golf buddies on Sundays, which I fully supported. However, in the 3rd year of our marriage, I noticed a shift in Cole's behavior. When we got married, we were clear that we didn't want children. Suddenly, Cole started expressing his desire to be a father and talked about wanting a baby with me out of nowhere. This caught me off guard, and I reminded him of our mutual decision not to have children. Cole brushed it off, insisting he wanted to see me pregnant, which made me extremely uncomfortable. He began pressuring me to forego using condoms, which heightened my fear that he might be trying to force me into pregnancy. I had numerous conversations with him, trying to understand this sudden change. Until the previous year, he had expressed contentment with our child-free life. Cole persisted, suggesting that everything would be perfect in our marriage once I became pregnant and gave up my job. The thought of losing my job terrified me. Despite knowing some may not agree, I decided to start taking birth control pills after consulting my gynecologist. Fortunately, it worked, and I didn't get pregnant. Meanwhile, Cole's behavior became increasingly erratic. He started questioning my social interactions and where I went when I spent time with friends. I've always been modest in my clothing choices, but Cole began suggesting I should cover up more, even when I wore a normal shirt with a jacket. He expressed concern about what other guys might think if they saw me. At first, I brushed it off, but his demands grew more aggressive. He insisted I change into different outfits before going out, which made me increasingly uncomfortable and unsure about our relationship. A few weeks later, I noticed some of my favorite clothes were missing from my wardrobe. Initially thinking I was mistaken, I searched the house thoroughly. When I confronted Cole, he claimed ignorance. However, while looking through the garage, I found my clothes stuffed into an empty shoebox. I was furious and confronted him again. Initially denying it, he finally admitted to hiding my clothes to prevent me from wearing them when I went out with friends. His justification appalled me. He argued he was trying to protect my reputation, claiming that women who dressed a certain way were often judged harshly by men. Losing my temper, I yelled at him, telling him he had no right to control what I wore. I reminded him that we'd been married for 3 years, and I'd never been disloyal, questioning why he suddenly cared so much about others' opinions. In the end, he apologized. Since this was the first time he'd acted strangely toward me, I wondered if he was going through something difficult. I thought it might just be a phase, so I let it slide. But things only got worse. I began noticing that messages from my friends and family were mysteriously disappearing from my phone. For example, after chatting with my mother and making plans to meet, I'd find no trace of our conversations a couple of days later. It left me completely baffled. Initially, I thought it might be a phone bug, so I updated it to fix any potential issues. Then, a friend called to invite me to a small party she was planning, but I never received the invitation she mentioned sending. When she called again wondering why I hadn't replied, I explained I never got her message. It wasn't until I attended her party that weekend that she showed me she had indeed sent the invitation, which I never received. It was all very strange and unsettling. I began to suspect my phone had been hacked, so I decided to buy a new one. Being sentimental, I kept my old phone, hoping to fix it someday. Throughout this, I shared these strange occurrences with my husband Cole, who seemed as puzzled as I was. The day I bought my new phone, I didn't mention it to him. That night, I woke up thirsty and went to get water. As I entered the living room, I was startled to see Cole crouched on the sofa, holding both phones in his hands. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust, but once they did, I saw he was going through my phone. Shocked and frustrated, I asked loudly, "What the hell are you doing?" He jumped in surprise at my sudden appearance, clearly caught off guard. He started babbling about how I must be cheating because I had bought another phone without consulting him. He went on a rant about how he should never have trusted me while I stood there in shock, trying to understand what was happening in the middle of the night. Calmly, I explained to him that he knew about the issues with my old phone and that I had just bought the new one, which I hadn't even set up yet. I suggested he could have waited until the next day for me to mention it to him. I asked him again why he was holding both my phones in the middle of the night. Sheepishly, he claimed he was checking for any issues on my phone. Snatching my phone from his hands, I noticed he had opened my chats on the old phone. It hit me like a lightning bolt. Cole had been deleting my messages, explaining why I wasn't receiving invitations from friends and family. Meanwhile, he kept insisting he couldn't sleep and had come out to watch TV when he found my new phone near my bedside table and curiously started going through it. He said he was also checking my old phone for bugs I might have missed. I looked at him blankly and asked directly if he had been deleting my messages. Cole became agitated, vehemently denying it as absurd to even suggest. He insisted he would never do such a thing. Despite his denial, an unsettling feeling lingered. I pointed out that he was clearly going through my messages in the middle of the night, so he had no grounds to deny it. I couldn't comprehend why on earth he would do such a thing to me. I explained that because he was deleting my messages, I missed meetups with friends and family. It felt like a betrayal on multiple levels, and I couldn't understand why he would sabotage my relationships in such a sneaky way. I couldn't even look him in the eye anymore. I felt utterly disgusted and decided to trust my gut. I told him he had crossed a line and needed space. I packed my bags intending to stay with my mother for a while. He pleaded with me not to leave, finally admitting he deleted my messages to spend more time with me. I couldn't fathom how he justified violating my privacy when we already spent plenty of time together. When I confided in my mother, she agreed his actions were strange. She said I was lucky to have a husband who loved me deeply, even if misguided. Despite her words, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal and unease. My husband called and texted incessantly, apologizing and blaming me for making him think I was cheating. I switched off my phone for the next few days, distracting myself by helping my mom at home. I knew something was wrong with Cole, but didn't know what to do. It was as if I couldn't admit the truth to myself. Luckily, Kylie showed up to comfort me. She was as disturbed as I was about her brother's actions. To me, Kylie's support was crucial. I know some might assume she'd side with her brother because of family ties, but Kylie is a true advocate for women. She reassured me that my feelings were valid. No husband should wake up in the middle of the night to check their wife's phone and react as Cole did, especially when I had never given him reason to be suspicious. She agreed that something wasn't right and promised to investigate by talking to him. Her words comforted me, and I hoped she could help Cole see reason. After talking to Kylie, I felt much better and decided to switch my phone back on. However, I was bombarded with angry text messages from Cole that painted him as a completely different person. In some messages, he even threatened divorce and leaving me with nothing, which was completely out of character for him. I couldn't understand what I had done to provoke such anger. I also noticed no new messages that day, so I assumed he might have realized his mistake and felt remorseful. I hoped he would call so we could resolve things. 2 days later, Kylie called with news I didn't expect. When she arrived, she looked furious and showed me photos on her phone taken outside Cole's place. In the pictures, a young blonde woman was entering our home. I couldn't grasp the significance until Kylie explained that Cole had been cheating on me. It felt like all the air was knocked out of my lungs. I shook my head in disbelief as Kylie continued, explaining she had observed this woman for the past 2 days entering and leaving Cole's place. When Kylie told me her brother was having an affair, my whole body started shaking, and I felt like I might be sick. Kylie tried to comfort me with a hug, but I pushed her away and ran into the bathroom. The world felt like it was spinning, and my head throbbed dully. I kept telling myself it couldn't be true, searching desperately for any simpler explanation. Emerging from the bathroom, I found Kylie and my mother wearing worried expressions. My mother, informed by Kylie of what had transpired with Cole, looked at me with a mix of fury and concern. I tried to laugh it off, suggesting the woman might be a housekeeper or one of Cole's colleagues. But the more I spoke, the more pitifully they stared back at me, almost making me feel nauseous. My mother gently guided me to sit down as Kylie shared her doubts despite the evidence. She then asked if Cole had been in touch with me over the past 2 days. I shook my head silently. What followed was an outpouring of tears on my part. The sadness of realizing my marriage was crumbling is indescribable. Kylie and my mom sat with me on the floor, offering their own forms of comfort. As I started to regain composure, my mom apologized for ever believing Cole could change and pledged to help me find a divorce lawyer. Kylie affirmed her support, mentioning she would investigate further about the mystery woman, hoping it might assist me in understanding more. After deciding on divorce with my husband, I didn't do much except nod. I just wanted to sleep, so they left me to crawl into bed and pretend it was all a bad dream. But like anyone who's been cheated on, I woke to a dull ache in my chest, and slowly the reality sank in that the love of my life had betrayed me. Kylie had sent me those photos of the woman entering our home, and I zoomed in to see how young she looked. I couldn't believe my pathetic husband had chosen to hook up with someone instead of talking to me like a sane person. This realization only fueled my anger. If Cole thought he could do as he pleased and I'd come crawling back, he was in for a rude awakening. I was determined to file for divorce and take everything he owned. I spoke with my mom, and we began researching good divorce lawyers in the area to set up appointments. Kylie called whenever she could to check on me. When I finally settled on a divorce lawyer, the first thing they advised was to hire a private investigator, PI, to gather evidence, ensuring I got the best outcome. Hiring a PI was costly, but I was willing to pay to teach Cole a lesson. During this time, Cole messaged me only twice, both times asking if I was ready to apologize to him. His messages only fueled my anger further, and though I had many things I wanted to say, I held back, knowing any confrontation would alert him to the impending divorce. I wanted to see his face when I handed him the divorce papers. Meanwhile, in his mind, Cole still believed his reaction to my phones was completely justified. My lawyer updated me that the private investigator, PI, was gathering substantial evidence. It appeared Cole's relationship with the young woman was serious, meeting daily, suggesting it wasn't a casual fling. Kylie discovered through hours of online digging that the woman, Georgina, was just 23 years old. Shockingly, she had a criminal record and was wanted in another state for past involvement in car theft linked to a gang. Learning this was deeply unsettling. My husband had been involved with someone potentially dangerous. Georgina currently worked as a stripper, undoubtedly hiding her past from everyone. Kylie and I agreed it was crucial for Cole to know the truth. We decided to secretly meet with my in-laws, informing them of everything. Initially shocked by the revelations, unaware we had marital problems, Cole's parents listened as Kylie presented photos of Georgina and detailed the evidence from the PI. Cole's parents were furious and heartbroken that their son could behave so reprehensibly. His mother hugged me, assuring me of their support and expressing disgust that Cole would be involved with a criminal and stripper. Together, we devised a plan to confront him, where his parents could intervene and I could serve him with divorce papers, and immediately called Cole to insist that he should throw a lavish celebration for my birthday this year so we could all rejoice together. Cole attempted to dodge the request, casually suggesting that I might not enjoy a big party, hoping to keep his parents in the dark about our marital issues. However, his father persisted, mentioning that he had already discussed it with me and knew I would be thrilled. Cole seemed surprised, but eventually acquiesced to his parents' demand to host a birthday party for me. Throughout this, he never mentioned that I wasn't living with him anymore, or that he was involved with someone else. Later, Cole tried to contact me several times, but I ignored his calls. Eventually, he messaged me, expressing his desire to throw a birthday party for me and suggesting we put aside our differences for the sake of his parents. I replied, pretending this wasn't the original plan, thanking him for his thoughtfulness and agreeing to attend. On the day of my birthday, I came prepared with my divorce papers and evidence from the private investigator in case Cole denied his affair. When my mother and I arrived at Cole's place, he greeted us with a perfunctory smile, but didn't attempt to hug me. Walking in, I saw he had done nothing to decorate for the evening. Gray balloons hung haphazardly in the living room, which itself looked unkempt. In the kitchen, a pile of unwashed dishes sat, and Cole had ordered takeaway pizza for the occasion, which almost made me. When his parents arrived, Cole helped them settle in without giving away any hint of our plan to confront him. Kylie arrived bearing gifts for my birthday, and we all gathered for dinner, making polite conversation. We cut the cake, celebrating my 36th birthday, when the doorbell suddenly rang. Cole hurried to answer it, and to everyone's astonishment, he returned holding hands with Georgina, dressed in a flashy, glittery outfit and high heels. Ignoring me completely, Cole introduced Georgina to his parents, declaring that he had something important to announce. He began loudly accusing me of emotional abuse, gaslighting, and manipulating him throughout our marriage, claiming I never considered his feelings or acted as a good wife. In a dramatic revelation, Cole asserted that he recently discovered I was cheating on him after finding another phone, which led to me leaving him. He paused for effect before declaring that Georgina had been his support during the marriage's downfall. He announced with pride that they had grown closer in the past 6 months, and she was now 2 months pregnant. I sat in shock, unable to process the new information thrust upon me. Glancing at Kylie, I saw her stunned expression mirrored my own. Cole accused me of failing as a wife, suggesting I hadn't fulfilled my role as a woman during our marriage. He expressed gratitude for finding Georgina and hoped his parents would accept her. My mother, who had been containing her anger until that moment, finally erupted. She stood abruptly, dousing Cole with a glass of Sprite, calling him a disgrace. Cole, shocked, and Georgina, terrified, faced Kylie's outburst next. She declared his game was over, exposing his affair with Georgina and revealing unsettling details, including Georgina's criminal record for car theft in another state. Watching Cole turn pale with panic, I seized the opportunity. From my coat, I produced divorce papers and handed them to him triumphantly, stating I was done. As my mother and I left, leaving Cole to face his enraged parents and Kylie, I felt liberated from his drama. During the car ride, my mother repeatedly expressed pride in raising a resilient woman like me. While I don't know exactly what Kylie and her parents said to Cole, it clearly had an impact. He bombarded me with nearly 80 messages the next morning, pleading for reconciliation. He promised to change, proposing couples counseling, and questioning my love for him. I never thought I'd consider divorce, especially not after all those years with Cole. Yet, here I am, knowing deep down it's the right path. Despite my brain telling me what's best, my heart still aches, especially reading Cole's desperate messages about how he can't imagine life without me, how he always pictured growing old together. It's hard not to feel a pang of sadness. Reddit, thank you for your support in exposing Cole's double life to his family and helping me finally file for divorce. Update 1. Wow, I didn't expect such a strong response to my post. I've received countless DMs criticizing me for even considering forgiving Cole. I hear you loud and clear. I won't be going back. Please stop being so harsh. Initially, I felt guilty when I posted, maybe even a bit swayed by his desperate messages. But now, that guilt is gone for good. I'm following my lawyer's advice to keep communication open until the divorce is finalized. Many of you have rightly pointed out Cole's ongoing deceit, likely an affair with Georgina or another woman long before. I agree, but I'm not dwelling on it. I just want to close this chapter of my life. Update 2. It's been a few months. For those who asked, I did get an STD test, and I'm relieved to say I'm clean. Dodge that bullet at least. As my divorce drags on, Cole's lawyer keeps stalling, which is incredibly frustrating. However, my lawyer and I are determined not to back down. Cole's lawyer is trying to prevent me from claiming anything, but I paid for all the renovations during our 3 years of marriage. I transformed his basement into a man cave, split the cost of his car loan, and managed groceries every week. I deserve my fair share and we're fighting for it. Kylie and Cole's parents have stayed supportive. Last month, Kylie shared her engagement news. She's getting married soon and insists I attend. I'm torn because I don't want to cross paths with Cole, but she wants my support. Kylie also revealed that Cole and Georgina split after the debacle on my birthday. Georgina admitted to seeing other men, casting doubt on her pregnancy claims. She disappeared with another man, leaving Cole devastated and blaming me. His parents set him straight, but I'm focused on moving forward. In my next update, I hope to share happier news. I plan to discuss with Cole's parents to expedite the divorce process so I can finally put this behind me. Update 3. Okay, everyone, I did it. I can't believe it. I'm finally divorced. Cole and his lawyer did everything possible to delay our case, but the judge had enough. In the end, Cole agreed to everything I asked for. It turns out his parents had a serious talk with him and threatened to cut him off from their inheritance if he didn't end our prolonged legal battle and divorce me. I'm overjoyed. Tonight, I'm planning to celebrate with my friends and have the time of my life. Kylie is joining us, and we're ready to make some great memories. I want to thank everyone for sticking with me and sending supportive messages throughout this journey. Your encouragement meant the world to me.